It's the Hump Day edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. Welcome back, everyone. Another gloomy day out there for today, although there are some hopeful things on the horizon here. If we can get in some sunshine at the last minute today, that would be nice. And the sky is starting to clear as of about 2 o'clock from I-77 on west. They're in the sun out in Mansfield, up towards Sandusky this afternoon. So there is some hope that we'll get a little last-minute sunshine here before the afternoon's through. Of course, the sunsets are so early these days. In fact, this week features our earliest sunsets. There's actually a little bit of an unbalance in terms of the sunrises and sunsets as you get closer to the start of winter, the solstice, and the sunsets will actually start to get a little bit later in just a couple of weeks, while the sunsets will continue, or sunrises, I should say, will continue to get later all the way, in fact, through early January. All right, 35 degrees. What you see is what you get out there today in terms of the temperature. Hasn't moved much since 24 hours ago. We've been kind of stuck in the mid-30s since mid to late afternoon yesterday. Clouds are hanging tough. There's not a lot on the radar, though, across most of the eastern one-third of the country this afternoon. The moisture that brought us some rain and little pockets of freezing rain now over towards the east coast. The southeast is cooling off after a couple of warm days. And the west is actually one other area that's continuing to get active weather with rain in northern parts of California this afternoon. As far as the temperatures nationwide go, well, this is a fairly typical December map. There's not a whole lot to write home about here. Of course, it's cold up towards the U.S.-Canadian border, as cold as minus 22 up in the prairies of Canada. Yikes, but that harsh cold's staying up there. Deep south is the place to be. It's in the 70s along the Gulf Coast this afternoon, so that's a nice place to be. In terms of our next weather maker here across the valley, it's going to be, it looks like Friday. I think tomorrow, high pressure is going to drift across the region. Let's bring up the surface pressures here. We'll skip ahead to tomorrow afternoon. As this high drifts across the Great Lakes tomorrow, it's going to be kind of what we call a dirty high. What we mean by that is usually under high pressure you expect sunshine, fair weather, but I think the clouds are going to increase pretty quickly again during the course of our Thursday, so any sunshine will be kind of fleeting. But again, the rain is going to hold off until Friday. Here's Friday morning. Now, the NAM model here is a little aggressive with bringing in some moisture on Friday. I think this is a little too fast. I suspect most, if not all, of the rain's coming our way Friday afternoon and into the evening as well. Here is, skip ahead to Saturday. Saturday's the 5th, right? Make sure I have my dates right here. Saturday's the 6th. Friday is the 5th. That's why I'm off by a day. Let's try that again. Here's Friday afternoon, the 5th. Here comes the rain, the steady rain pushing in. I think it's going to rain for a lot of Friday night, heading into Saturday morning. Here is the simulated radar based on the NAM model. Friday evening, as my internet slows to a crawl, there it is. Pretty good soaker, it looks like. And then by Saturday morning, the 6th, the rain is probably still around, and we may see some improvement from west to east Saturday afternoon. But here's Saturday morning with low pressure here and stalled front in here. Yeah, it's going to rain. So this is going to be a pretty decent rain event. In fact, real quickly, I'll show you a couple of the models' rainfall predictions here. Here's the European model. It has a bullseye of 2 inches in the red. Not here, but down in southeast Ohio into West Virginia, southwestern PA. Up around our neck of the woods, solid 1.5 inches worth of rain on the European model Friday into Saturday. Here's the GFS. It paints the bullseye in somewhat of a different location, more towards I-70, but still approaching 2 inches, Columbus to Dayton, over towards Indy, with a solid inch up here in the Mahoning and Shenango Valley. So whichever model has the precipitation amounts more correct, bottom line is, yeah, it's going to rain Friday into Saturday, especially Friday afternoon into Saturday morning, and pretty good soaker at that. This is, thankfully it's not snow, or we'd be talking about a whole lot of snow, but it's just going to be too warm for that. So let's skip ahead then to the second half of the weekend. Again, here's Saturday as the rain pushes out towards the mid to late afternoon probably. Sunday is going to be a dry day as high pressure drifts across northern parts of New England into Canada. Not exactly a heat wave, but a decent day on Sunday. We should get up into the 40s. Because we head into next week, the models start to diverge quite a bit on the general ideas, especially for the East Coast. For us, I don't think we have much to worry about next week. I think there'll be a cool down. I think there'll be a few flakes, some snow showers around. This is Monday afternoon. Those could last into Tuesday. Now, there may or may not be a fairly decent East Coast storm early to middle portions of next week, depending on which model you believe. This is the GFS. It does not have it. European and Canadian models suggest there's a decent nor'easter. Again, probably too far east for us, but something we'll be keeping an eye on early next week. All right, let's talk about the long range. And if you're a winter lover, if you liked November, this isn't really your pattern, that is. There's going to be some days here and there where, yes, it does turn cold. Be some snowflakes around, but I'm going to skip ahead to middle of next week. These are the temperature anomalies, not here at the surface where we live, but up at about 5,000 feet, and it gives a fairly decent representation of what the entire column of air will look like. In other words, warmer than average or colder than average. Here's next Tuesday. Look at all that warmth across the prairies of Canada down into the Rockies, while the east is actually a little on the chilly side. We're probably in the 30s early on next week. So that was Tuesday. Here's Wednesday, week from today. Again, we're not in the heart of the warmth by any stretch here. It's a seasonably chilly pattern, but boy, look at that blowtorch of warmth up in the central part of Canada, back into the western U.S. Towards the end of next week, some of this anomalously warm air is going to try to push east. I think the warm-up is certainly going to be centered out here in the middle of the country and up into Canada, but I think we'll start to trend a little warmer towards the second half of next week. And, with this kind of pattern, no cold air is going to descend out of Canada, so we're not looking at any Arctic high-pressure zones slipping in with temperatures in the teens and that sort of thing. We're probably not looking at a pattern that's going to produce a lot of big snow events for eastern Ohio and western PA, maybe some East Coast shenanigans, but back here, more than likely not. So this will be the case, it looks like, through the middle of the month. This sequence on the European ensemble model ends on 2 weeks from today, 2 Wednesdays from now. Pattern hasn't changed much, looks like, until then. So if we're hoping for a white Christmas, if we're hoping for some cold and some snow in time for the Christmas season, might have to be a last-minute thing, because through the 17th, 18th, it doesn't look all that favorable for any sort of widespread wintry weather. And so our heating bills get a little bit of a break. Again, it's not a warm pattern for us, but it is not a cold pattern either. At average, slightly below average at times, and somewhat above average at times, but no real harsh, unusual cold like we had in November. All right, that's today's weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you right back here tomorrow, and you can check out my forecast on the TV side tonight on 21 News at 6 and 11. I'll see you then.